y'all, my name is Serena and this is Serena's Art Adventures. Welcome to my channel. I scoured the internet for my favorite St. Patrick's Day crochet ideas and I narrowed it down to 25 for you guys. So you will get today my 25 favorite St. Patrick's Day crochet ideas. I have 4 different categories for you today. We have wearables, amigurumi, home decor, and quick, fast, fun, and easy or miscellaneous. As always, the links to all of the patterns are in the Google Doc in the description below this video. So if you click the Google Doc link, you have a link directly to the pattern itself. As long as it's still available and listed on the site where I initially found it, you should be able to access it. So we're going to start with wearables. For wearables, the first item on the list is this shamrock beanie. I thought this beanie was super adorable. I really like the addition of the pom-pom on top. An accessory is a great way to add some green into your wardrobe. This pattern is $3.68 on Etsy from Rich Textures Crochet. The size of this beanie when it's worked up and laid flat is 8.5 by 8 inches. The yarn that they used for this was Heartland by Lion Brand yarn and a 5mm hook size. St. Patrick's Day is just around the corner. From the release of this video, you have about 1 month to make this, so definitely enough time even if your crochet time is limited. So the second one I called a super fun hat on the Google Doc in the description, but it is a super fun hat to me, but it is actually called on Etsy St. Patrick's Day crochet hat pattern, and it is by Crochet Some Fun. But I really do like the way that it looks like grass on the bottom, and there's a little leprechaun on top, and a little rainbow, and pot of gold. It is just overall an absolutely adorable pattern. For the fun of St. Patrick's Day, I could see myself wearing something like this. That's probably about the only day in the year you'll find me wearing this. I really like this pattern, and in my opinion, $5 on Etsy is not a bad price at all. They use a variety of crochet hook sizes for this pattern. They use a 2.75, which is very small, smaller than I typically use, but for this pattern, I would still do it. Then they also use a 4mm hook, a 5mm hook, and a 5.5mm hook. Obviously you need a tapestry needle, and the yarn that they use is the Red Heart yarn. They used white, carrot, patty green, and Aran. They also use some Caron and Kelly green, some Mainstays yarn, and some Yarn Bee Mini Maker. They use some embroidery floss as well. So there is quite a variety of yarns used in this pattern. So you'd probably have quite a few left over of all these yarns that you would have to go and get to make this pattern. But if you have a friend that likes to be silly and goofy with you, you can make a couple of hats for you and your friends that might be going out for St. Patrick's Day. I think it would be a fun wear for the holiday. I have one scarf pattern for you guys, and it is this pattern right here. I really like the colors of green that she used and how well they complement each other. What I really like is you can use the graph for the shamrock and make as many of them up the scarf as you want. If you want to just do 1 on each side, you can, or you could do 2 on each side, 3, or you can do shamrocks all the way around the entire pattern. You can really make it your own by repeating the same rows as many times as you want. Scarf patterns that have the same width all the way up the entire pattern are very easy to customize, even for beginner crocheters. So I really love scarf patterns, especially as a beginner. It was one of my favorite things to make, whether it's knit or crochet. It's a quick, fast, fun, easy, and you can experiment with different stitches and stuff like that as well. So this is a great pattern. I really like it. It's on a website called Repeat Crafter Me, and it is a free pattern, and we all love a free pattern, so there are plenty of free patterns scattered throughout this video. According to the website, the materials that are used for the scarf is a Bernat Spin Right Super Value yarn in Lush and Kelly Green, and she even has the link where you can purchase the yarns that she used from Yarnspirations, and she used a size H hook and a tapestry needle. So this is a lot simpler of a pattern with only 1 size hook being used and 2 different types of yarn. The 4th pattern I have for you guys is a cardigan. It is a little bit more of an expensive pattern at $12. However, I think it's well worth it because it is a little bit more of an intricate pattern. I recently spent $10 on a similar pattern for a circular mandala shrug or jacket, but I really like this one. I love that it includes a hood in the pattern as well, but It has a lot of green in it, and originally I was debating whether or not to include it because it's not St. Patrick's Day specifically, but this is another one where you can make this pattern and you can wear it outside of just St. Patrick's Day. So you can make it and have green to wear for St. Patrick's Day, but then you can use it for the rest of spring. It's a great spring sweater because it is a little bit airy and will allow for some airflow, but will also keep you at just the right temperature, in my opinion. I also found this pattern on Etsy, and when I click on the link, it actually does show that it's $12.50 for the pattern. There is some suggested yarn for this pattern. They suggest some Caron cakes, Caron big cakes, worsted weight yarn, and the hook size that is listed in the item description is 5, 5.5, 6, and 6.5 millimeter hooks. It does come in sizes extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and double XL. They do show you versions in the pictures of it with sleeves and without sleeves, so if you just wanted to make it more of a shrug, something a little bit lighter, maybe you live in a hotter climate, there are some pictures that show you what it would look like without the sleeves added onto the pattern as well. Okay, next up we have a crochet dress pattern. This pattern is not cheap, but right now, as I'm recording today, Saturday, February 15th, it is currently for sale on Etsy for $13.75. It does say the sale ends in 10 hours. Right now it's 75% off. It is normally a $55 pattern. However, with the detail and intricacy of this pattern, how could you not say that it's worth it? It is definitely worth the $55 that they're asking, but it is also worth the $14, hands down. It is so intricate and detailed. However, with that comes the realization that is going to be a pattern that takes a long time for you to make. It's probably made with a smaller size yarn. I'll go ahead and look at the item description and let you know. Interestingly enough, it's not listed on the Etsy listing what size yarn is needed for this pattern. It does say Irish lace dress, so probably a lace weight yarn is what you're looking for, either a lace weight or a fingering weight yarn. I'm enamored with this pattern. I hope that I have the time and patience and availability some point throughout my life to make this pattern. This is definitely my favorite pattern of the whole collection that I'm sharing with you guys today. Item number 6 are these very cute baby photo props. I put it under clothing because technically you could have them wear this throughout the day, but you would want to make sure to get a comfortable enough yarn to where it wouldn't be scratchy on the skin. But if you just wanted to use it for some photo props to get some really cute photos with your baby or toddler, you totally could. It comes in sizes newborn to 12 months according to the pattern. It's got this cute little hat, the cute little bow tie, and these cute little overalls. Put a little white button-up shirt on your baby, and this is going to be the perfect little photo prop. Absolutely adorable. So according to the item description, this pattern does work up quickly using basic stitches from beginners to advanced, and they use a 4-ply worsted weight yarn. So if you have some of that laying around, you might have just enough of this yarn to make this pattern already in your stash. I did find more than one pair of slippers online that I thought were really awesome. However, I had to include this specific pattern because it's a vintage pattern. It is $1.39 right now on Etsy on sale, typically $1.85 for this pattern. But I just love the fact that it's a vintage pattern. I don't see these very often, so when I do like to try to include them for those who love those vintage patterns. This one is on Etsy by Over the Years Designs, and it has a 5-star rating, so that's pretty awesome. According to the description on this, you're going to need some worsted weight yarn and a size H hook. So for the 8th pattern, we're going to go ahead and move into the Amigurumi section. I have a couple of different Amigurumi patterns to share with you guys. The first one is a free pattern of this pot of gold. I absolutely think this is adorable, and you can use the type of yarn that they use in it, or you could make a larger pot of gold using the same pattern and use a thicker like polyester yarn. Make it to where it's like really nice and plushy. So that's probably what I would do personally, is make like it a little bit bigger using a bigger yarn and a bigger hook size. I really like the colors they chose, either the dark green or the black, either one. Absolutely adorable. We all love a free pattern, and for this specific size that they have pictured, they used a 3.5 millimeter hook and Yarnspirations Caron Simply Soft Heathers. It's a worsted 4 medium weight yarn. And of course, to go with your pot of gold amigurumi, you're gonna need a leprechaun, and that leprechaun is gonna need a beer or two so that he can keep guard in his gold. This pattern is a St. Patrick's Day gnome with beer. It is $3.49 on sale right now on Etsy, normally $6.99. It is from a seller on Etsy called Muffycorn, and it's got a 5-star pattern rating. So we're always looking for those good ratings when I try to share these patterns with you guys as well. Unfortunately, with AI coming on the scene, I have seen some patterns that are AI in the pictures, and I can tell, but maybe not everybody can tell that it's AI. And when people go to work it up, it doesn't match what the pictures look like. So just keep that in mind and try to make sure that you look at the ratings for these patterns before you get them so that you know that you're getting a pattern that is actually going to work up the way that it shows in the pictures. I love that they have all these different colors of beer. So if you already have some yellows and some different like tans and brown colors in your stash, you can definitely already make these. And then you just need a little bit of green, yellow, black, orange, and some tan. I really like how the cups of beer have the little foam on the top too, with like the little white parts. And then you just need the colors that you want to make for the gnome as well. So this one is super easy. I would probably also do a plush yarn for this because I really appreciate the polyester yarn for my amigurumis. I've seen a lot of amigurumi patterns using different types of yarn. I've used acrylic yarn for amigurumi. I didn't have a great experience with it, but I still thought it was a fantastic kit. It was the video that I did last week. Feel free to check that out if you're interested in that. But I personally have a better experience crocheting amigurumi with a polyester yarn that is nice and soft. It feels nice going over your fingers and everything. And there are polyester yarns that are nice and soft, ranging anywhere from a 4 size to a 7 size, super bulky yarn. So for this one, they used a size 2 yarn with a size 2.25 millimeter hook. So in my opinion, that's a little bit smaller than I want to do for amigurumi, but you let me know what you like to make your amigurumi out in the comments below, because I am curious. But they used Yarn Art Jeans yarn for this, and I think it turned out really beautiful. The stitch definition is definitely awesome. And it is a mix of cotton and polyacryl, so it would probably be better than using a acrylic yarn for your amigurumi. Coming in at number 10 is my favorite type of yarn that is being used in this pattern, this polyester yarn. You can tell from the pictures that that's the type of yarn that they're using. It is super adorable. I love the way that the crochet works up with this polyester yarn. I mean, look at the definition, the stitch definition that you're still getting in these plushies. Absolutely adorable. But this is like a 4-in-1. So it's an $11, $10.99 pattern online, but you're getting 4 different things. You're getting a rainbow, a pot of gold, a shamrock, and a little beer. And the way that they do the foam on top is so adorable. I don't know how they do that, but I definitely would love to get this pattern and try these out. Hopefully I get to, but the cute little eyes on each of them are super adorable. You could choose to add the eyes and the faces, or you could leave them off and make them a little bit more realistic. I personally like them with the eyes on them, but please let me know in the comments which one you like, if you would like it better with or without the eyes on them. And oh my goodness, they even did a green beer. That is absolutely adorable. This one is sold by Little Baby Rory Crafts on Etsy, and it also has a 5-star review, and I am not surprised. This is absolutely adorable. It's recommended that you have intermediate skills to be able to crochet this pattern. They have a super bulky plush yarn, and then they have a 5mm hook that they're using. And obviously when you're making stuffies, do not forget, other than yarn and a needle and your hook size, you also need your stuffing. So don't forget your stuffing when you're getting the things that you need for amigurumi patterns. At number 11, we have these absolutely adorable gnome keychains. I would possibly use this gnome keychain to hang in my rearview mirror. I would just make the chain coming out of the top of the gnome's head a little bit longer so that I can fit it over my rearview mirror. But I absolutely love being able to change out my rearview mirror piece based on the upcoming or current holiday. So that way you have a little bit of holiday spirit and something to look forward to as a holiday is approaching. I do like the idea of using this as a keychain as well. I just think it's going to get a little dirty as a keychain if you're lugging it around for a couple of weeks as St. Patrick's Day is approaching. So personally, I think if you use it as a car hanger, it's not going to get quite as dirty, and then you can put it up and save it until next year and you have decor. So this one kind of doubles as amigurumi or home decor depending on how you want to use it. With that being said, that leads us into home decor. Home decor is going to be our next topic that we're talking about today. And I'm going to start us off with a blanket. I have two blankets to share with you guys. I couldn't choose between the two. One's a little bit more whimsical, one's a little bit more classic. This one right here is the Crochet Shamrock pattern with bobble stitches to make the shamrocks. I love the color choices in here. They have different squares that you are making that it looks like you assemble together, and then you do some kind of like picot stitch on the edge of it, which is absolutely adorable. I love the color choices they use with this, and if I were to make it for myself, I probably really wouldn't change the pattern much at all. I really like the way it looks with the finished white border and everything. These bobble stitches are going to add some beautiful texture and a little bit of weight to the blanket, and they are going to be a little bit of yarn eaters as you're working up these bobble stitches, but they really do show through in the pattern, and I absolutely adore this. I think it's a very cute pattern, and it can go well in any home. This one is $5.50, sold on Etsy with another 5-star review. Looking at the picture of this pattern, I'm not surprised about the 5-star review for this pattern. For this pattern, they use a 5.5mm crochet hook and a 4 medium weight yarn. So those are some of my favorite things to use, like a 5 to a 6mm crochet hook and a 4 weight yarn. Those projects work up quickly, but they don't get too heavy and bulky. I've used some super heavy, like 7 bulky weight yarn for blankets and stuff like that, and unfortunately they do get heavy quite quickly. So a 4 weight yarn with a 5.5mm hook, it's still going to work up fairly quickly, but it's not going to be super heavy and bulky. It's going to be a very comfortable weight of yarn, and the weight of the blanket is going to be very normal and natural and not too heavy. The next blanket that I have for you guys is a pattern on Etsy with about a 4.5-star review, somewhere around there. It's a little over a 4-star review for this pattern. It is by Back Fence Treasures on Etsy for $5.25, but I absolutely love this design. It's a little bit more of like a classic design, and it's not too textured, but it does still have a little bit of texture in there. As you can see in this photo, you can totally see the texture that you are going to get out of this blanket. It looks like they have a baby size blanket and an Afghan size blanket available for this pattern if you look at this picture here. But there's not a lot of information in the item description like a lot of patterns have about the size of yarn or the size of hook that you use. It probably does use a smaller weight yarn and a smaller size hook than the last pattern that we looked at, so it's going to take a little bit longer to work up. It does say that it is an Irish fisherman's knit done with crochet stitches that alternate with panels of shamrocks, and the shamrocks are worked in single crochet following a graph. So that is about how much information I have on the pattern for you guys. I do have 2 cozy patterns for you, or koozie, cup koozie, cup cozy, cup cozy. I'm not quite sure if it's pronounced cozy or koozie, but either way, I have a cup cozy and a can cozy for you guys. I'm going to pronounce it cozy because it cozies up your can. The first cozy is from Fur Babies CB on Etsy. It is $3.99 for the pattern, and it's got a 5-star review. We love the 5-star reviews. Now this one is super adorable. I love how she alternates between like a light and dark green. She adds a 4-leaf clover and the little classic buckle. Altogether, these added onto this little pattern make it very adorable, and everybody that's giving this review on Etsy must be agreeing to that. So according to the pattern, it doesn't actually give the size or weight of yarn that is used on it. I don't really like it when patterns don't include that before you buy it, so you can see if this is a weight of yarn that you already have in your stash. I really wish they would give a little bit more information on the yarn that they use and the hook size that they use on every pattern. This one does say which hook size is used. It says they use size G and H crochet hooks for this pattern, and it does say that they use light green, dark green, medium green, yellow, and black acrylic yarn. I would say it's probably a 4-weight yarn. Looking at the pattern, that's my assumption. But I absolutely think these are adorable, and I could see myself making some of these. They could make great little gifts. You could use them around the holidays to put on your cups, and if you keep some cups on the counter, you can crochet these little cup cozies for them and have them out so they could kind of be decor if you wanted them to. But let me know if you think it belongs in the miscellaneous section or in the home decor section. These are one of my favorite cup cozies that I found online, but we do also have a can cozy that I wanted to share with you guys as well. So coming in at number 15 is this can cozy. I've seen a couple patterns similar to this where they used this idea of having this little green leprechaun hat, and they use it as like a candy bowl, and they use it on this one, for example, as a can cozy. This is a free pattern on a website called Joe to the World, and we love a free pattern. So for those of you looking for free patterns, this one right here is free. For this, you can get a PDF file of the pattern on Etsy and on Ravelry as well. She used the Loops and Threads impeccable yarn in solid. It is a 4-weight or medium weight yarn, and then a 5mm crochet hook, which is one of my favorite hook sizes. Feel free to check out this pattern at number 15 in that Google Doc in the description below. So we've seen a lot of green, very, very green video today, but my eyeballs were so very happy to see something a little bit different than green with this rainbow pattern with the pot of gold at the end. I absolutely love how they do the tassels on this as well. This is an absolutely adorable wall hanging found on Etsy with a 5-star rating. We love to see those. It is by C Crochet Shop. Shop is SHOPPE. It is $5.89. For this pattern, they use a worsted weight yarn in 6 different colors, some embroidery floss, a 5.5 and a 5mm crochet hook, a sewing needle, and some scissors. I would be so happy to crochet this up and have this probably for longer than St. Patrick's Day, because I just love the bright spring, rainbow. The rainbow reminds me of springtime. I absolutely love these colors, the way that they pop, and I love the bobble stitches that she uses, so you get a lot of texture out of this as well. So this is an absolutely adorable pattern, and please, if you agree with me, feel free to check it out. $5.89 for this wall hanging isn't bad at all, and if you already have these colors of yarn, you can make it right now today. I know a lot of us have yarn stashes, so if you have the colors that you need, you can make it without getting any yarn. I just love getting away from the green and seeing all the extra colorful patterns, and that one is number 16 on the Google Doc, so feel free to check it out. Coming in at number 17 are these shamrock coasters. This is another free pattern found on BriannaKDesigns.com. For this, she uses a cotton yarn and a 4mm hook, and you need approximately 21 yards per coaster. Feel free to check out the link for this one and able to find more pattern information without having to pay for it. If you don't like these shamrock coasters, don't worry, I've got you covered with these leprechaun coasters. These leprechaun coasters are cute, fun, and whimsical, and this pattern was found on Ravelry. They use a Red Heart Super Saver in solids and a 5mm crochet hook for this pattern. And as we all love to hear, this leprechaun coaster pattern is free. I saw a few different garland patterns for crochet shamrocks. This one personally was my favorite. I feel like it matches a lot of home aesthetics. It's not too colorful and too out there. If you like that kind of thing, you can make those colors a little bit more bold and vibrant. But this pattern right here I thought was very nice and aesthetically pleasing for those of us that like that. I like to try to include multiple different types of aesthetics in my videos so that everybody gets a little bit of a chance to find something that they would like. For the yarn on this, they use a Red Heart Super Saver yarn, which is an affordable yarn, which is fantastic. Each shamrock uses about 40 to 50 yards, and they use a 4mm or size G crochet hook. So if you like this pattern, feel free to check this one out. It is also free on knottednest.com. Coming in at number 20, we have the last item for home decor, which is this shamrock table runner. This one is $4, and the link that I supplied in the description takes you to the Ravelry site where you can purchase the pattern. It uses a 1.75mm hook, which I'm not surprised. This is like a lacier type of design. And for yarn weight, they're actually using thread yarn. So you're going to be using a small size hook and a small yarn size, but that's what you need to use and able to get this meshy pattern or design that you can like kind of see through. I really like the border that they did on this. This white border, in my opinion, really brings it together nicely, and I think it would work beautifully as a table runner. It could also be a wall hanging if you would like it to be as well. They do show an example of somebody hanging it and using it as a wall hanging as well. So it just depends on how you want to utilize this pattern. The really cool thing about this is when you're making this pattern, if you continue to repeat the pattern, you can make it as long as you'd like. So if you have a really big table that you want to cover and you want to make something with it, you can, but just remember, the bigger you make it, the longer it's going to take. You're already using a 1.75mm hook, and a thread size yarn. So it's gonna take a little while even to complete a small wall hanging size, but if you want to do a large table runner, it's gonna take even more time. So if you wanted to do this pattern, I would start as early as possible so that you can have it available when St. Patrick's Day comes. This next category is quick, fast, fun, and easy, or miscellaneous. And the first thing on this is something that I've seen for Valentine's Day and Christmas and Halloween editions of it, but I absolutely love the idea. So every time I see a new edition of this pattern, I am going to include it. It is an Etsy pattern for St. Patrick's Day tic-tac-toe. The really cool thing about this is you can keep all the little pieces for this inside, maybe make a couple extra. I know I would, just in case you lose a piece somewhere. And you keep all these pieces inside and you bring it with you, and you can fit it in your purse, in your pocket, and you have a really great conversation starter if you're going out and socializing for St. Patty's Day. That is why this is one of my favorite patterns, is because it's really fun to bring something out and bring people together. So it says for materials you're going to need 25 yards of worsted weight yarn and a 4mm crochet hook, as well as a 5mm crochet hook. So I'm assuming the 4mm crochet hook is used to make the little pieces, and the 5mm crochet hook is used to make the bag that holds the pieces and that actually doubles as the tic-tac-toe board. So I've got two appliques for you, and here is another rainbow pattern. I love the other rainbow pattern with the pot of gold and the bobble stitches, but I love this one as well. You have this beautiful, vibrant rainbow, and then you have a shamrock and a pot of gold. So I really like both of them. Between the two, I cannot choose. This applique you can use to like stitch it into a blanket. You could use it as a wall hanging. You could use it for many different types of things. You could even have like a crocheted sweater or something, and you could sew this into that as well. So the applique is a little bit more versatile. It has a 5-star review rating from Orchid and Bees on Etsy. It is normally $3.50. For me, it is showing $2.62 on sale right now on Etsy. This pattern calls for 4 weight yarn and either a 4mm or 5mm hook. With it being an applique, it doesn't have to be specific, just to what you prefer to use for this pattern. And I really like this one as well. I think it's really awesome and very versatile. But speaking of applique patterns, I have one more applique pattern to share with you guys. Coming in at number 23, we have this shamrock applique. I really like how they add this cute little bow tie. It looks like the bow tie is made with like a thread weight yarn and a smaller size hook. And then the little top hat is super adorable as well. I really like this pattern. I think it's super adorable, and you can use this and just kind of like stitch it onto a sweater or something like that so that you have your little bit of green. So if you don't have a lot of time and you want something quick, fast, fun, and easy, and you want to add green to an outfit, then you can just use this applique, make this applique up, and you can stitch it somewhere on like a sweater or a shirt or something like that. Maybe even a used sweater or shirt. I've seen a lot of people using appliques and granny squares as little additions to their outfit by like sewing it onto a back pocket or sewing it onto a sweater. And I absolutely love this idea, and that's probably what I would use this small applique for, is just adding a little bit of whimsy to my outfit, a little bit of green to my outfit for the St. Patrick's Day season. It looks like they are indeed using 2 different hook sizes, a 1.8mm hook and a 5mm hook. This is a free pattern on goldenlucycrafts.com. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to crochet the shamrock, crochet the hat, crochet the bow tie, and then sew them all together. This next pattern that I have for you is on Ravelry for free. It is a crochet shamrock square. I really love the extra texture that you get from these bobble stitches and these other stitches that they use inside of the granny square. I'm not 100% sure what stitches they're using, but you can tell from this pattern that it's kind of got like a raised effect or a little bit of like 3D effect to it. And I absolutely love that about that. I love the colors they chose. Adding orange in with the white and green was a fantastic idea. I love that they did like a lighter green on the leaves with a darker green on the outside. One of my favorite squares. And this pattern does fit into like quick, fast, fun, easy, miscellaneous pattern suggestions. You could use this as a coaster, so it could be home decor. You could use it to make something, so you could make a couple of these different squares and sew them together and make a bag. So it could be in the clothing or accessories section as well. But that's the fun thing about granny squares is you can crochet up as many as you are able to, and then based on how much you are able to crochet up, you can make yourself a vest. You can make yourself a little handbag. You can make yourself just a couple of coasters that you set out around your house. So I love how versatile granny squares are. When I first started crocheting, I didn't understand why people loved granny squares so much, because my thought process was, why do you want to make all these different squares? Then you have to stitch them together. And one of the things that crocheters dislike the most is having to sew things together. We want to crochet. We don't want to be sewing, but I get it now. I've made a ton of granny squares and I've turned those different granny squares into different projects, but it gives you this wide variety of things you can make out of it. And when you don't have the ability to be creative and you just want to make something small and quick and fast and easy, crocheting up a granny square, it feels like, oh look, I just made something. I did this. Like I accomplished and finished something. So it gives you that sense of like satisfaction. And you can use it as like a completed item, like a coaster, or you can just save them up and then bring them all out later and make a large project. And then that project almost feels like it didn't take a lot of time because you didn't make those granny squares recently. You made them a while back and you had the sense of completion back then. And yeah, I don't know. I love granny squares. Don't get me started on granny squares. I used to hate granny squares, but now I love them. Let me know if you love them or hate them in the comments below. I would love to know your opinions. But that is my rant on granny squares. That's all I need to say on granny squares. I do need to say this is using an Aran weight yarn with a 5mm hook. And I need to move on to the last pattern for you guys before I get off on a tangent about my love of granny squares. Coming in at number 25, we have this 4-leaf clover granny square. I absolutely love this. They show it to you in a couple of different color combos, so you could make them in all these different kinds of color combinations and make something a little bit more colorful, or you can stick with one color and make like a really cool blanket or something like that as well. This pattern is a 5-star rated pattern by Torea Treasures on Etsy, and it is sold for $2.50 for the pattern. I think it's worth it, but you let me know if you think it's worth it in the comments below. It doesn't say the yarn or hook size in the item description. However, it does say that this is a 5-inch granny square and that it's quick and easy to stitch up. It looks like, according to the pictures that I'm finding online, it might be like a granny square with a 4-leaf clover applique that you sew onto it. So when you are buying this pattern, just keep that in mind on whether or not you actually want to have to stitch these items together. I personally wouldn't mind stitching it together for this granny square because I think it's very cute, and I'd probably only make enough to maybe like sew 4 of them together and do a throw pillow, or have maybe 8 to do a little bag or something like that. You could take this granny square and, like I was explaining with the shamrock applique earlier, you could use this to like stitch it on a back pocket and add a little bit of green to your outfit if you wanted to as well. So it's definitely a very versatile pattern. You let me know what you think about all 25 of these patterns. If you're still watching, I want to say thank you so much for watching today's video. Please let me know in the comments below what other types of pattern suggestions you would like to see. I love searching for patterns and sharing them with you guys. Thank you all so much for watching today. And if you don't mind liking and sharing this video with people who you think would like it, and subscribing to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.